1 in 2.68 million. Squandered! Did Fat Potato Seal retire after that? I honestly wouldn't blame him if he did. I would not touch the game ever again. You weren't kidding, that vid, Jesus, you thing I don't want to watch is the new Summoning Salt video. I don't know too much about Super Punch-Out. I followed it a little bit a while ago because I remember on Reddit there was I think it was either a big discovery or a really big record that got taken away. So I vaguely know a bit about Super Punch, and it's a pretty fucking cool story, and Summoning Salt always slaps. So we're definitely doing Summoning Salt now. Imagine if this was in the Olympics. We're not too far off from gaming being in the Olympics, man. I think it's just around the corner. Unless you meant slapping, and then in that case, that'll never be in the Olympics. The athletes would die.
Super Punch-Out has garnered a reputation as one of the most random speedruns out there. Of course, there's still a broad skill set needed. Precise timing, quick reactions, and an ability to adapt on the fly.
There's a lot of RNG in the run too, from what I remember.
Right, a fighter can throw the run in the garbage whenever he pleases. How do you deal with that much randomness in the speedrun? Well, the world record holders in Super Punch-Out have figured out a way. And over the past decade,
I have played Super Punch-Out.
They've been able to beat it and drive the record down lower and lower.
So back when I was playing pretty much every shitty game ever made, not saying this is a shitty game, but I also, by extension, played a ton of not shitty games that just a few people didn't like. Super Punch-Out was one of them, where I was going to make a video out of it, but I just ended up really liking the game. So yeah, I have played Super Punch-Out. And like I said, I do know, like, at least a rudimentary understanding of the speedrun, because I remember when it got big on Reddit at one point. So I do know a decent bit about it going into it. And like I said, I'm pretty sure from what I remember it's a cool story. At least back then, which would have been like 3 or 4 years ago now.
This is the history of Super Punch-Out world records.
Thanks for your sub stick figure. 50 minutes long, damn. Summoning Salt videos would be like an hour long, but they feel like 10 minutes. He's just able to tell us great fucking story.
Here's a timeline of the Super Punch-Out single segment record. It's not filled in yet, but we'll get it there. A single segment run is essentially playing through the whole game and adding up the in-game time of all fights. There are 16 boxers in Super Punch-Out, divided into 4 circuits, so a single segment run consists of the total time of all 16 fights. Now, Super Punch-Out is a bit different than runs I've covered before. It is quite literally a gauntlet of RNG.
Yes, sir.
You have to make it through all 16 fights relatively unscathed from bad luck to complete a good run. The fights range from non-random to can kill your run with one foul swoop. And of course, you have to execute on top of that. If you get good luck but make an execution mistake, your run may be over.
You should do a video on SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom.
The strategies themselves haven't changed that much.
Shift did a great video on it already.
Instead, the progression has come from improving execution and getting the RNG gauntlet to better align.
Here, I'm surprised more people haven't seen this. This video was extremely popular. I think it's a little outdated now. These two videos were like pretty popular on Reddit, I guess, in particular. I spend a lot of time on, like, fucking Reddit, even though I shit on it all the time. It's where I get, like, the majority of my information on a daily basis. But the speedrun history of Battle for Bikini Bottom is fucking crazy. Like, way deeper than you would ever expect it. And I remember, this could be outdated now, Shift in particular. He's like a great guy, but I remember watching his stream one time, and he was saying how he dedicated his whole life to Battle for Bikini Bottom, invested like a crypto in Bikini Bottom, expecting and hoping that it will eventually get big enough where it could be his career, which luckily it did. But he was telling like how he'd often decline any kind of social events just to stay home and grind and like, you know, go for the optimizations, master the route and everything. And then he made these two videos which tell such a great story on all of like the culmination of all of that work. Like these two are fucking beautiful. Dude is like 100% speedrunning it right now. I bet Shift is live right now. Looks like we just missed.
But for now, let's go back to December 2012,
rug in the big
when a runner completed one of the earliest single segment runs of Super Punch-Out. He's arguably the most well-known Punch-Out runner in the world today, but back then, he was relatively unknown. His name is Zallard1.
Zallard.
Zallard performed his run on Christmas Eve 2012.
He's a prime for Lenny.
His first completed single segment run, which also happened to be the world record. You've got two types of fights in Super Punch-Out: the random ones and the non-random ones. The non-random fights tend to be toward the start of the game, like the first fight, Gabby J. Zallard started by repeatedly punching him in the face. These punches were all buffered, meaning as soon as one was thrown, he held the buttons for the next
It's a cool
so it
game.
would come out on the first frame possible. These face punches served two purposes. First, they helped fill the super meter, seen here at the bottom of the screen. Once filled, you can throw super punches that do more damage. And second, they helped fill the dizzy meter, a mechanic abused across all 16 fights in the game. Do this enough, and they'll become dizzy and back away. By precisely timing a punch when they come back,
Bro, look at those titties.
they'll get knocked down instantly.
Man, don't be mean to Gab.
This is used across the run to score quick knockdowns, and leads to most opponents being beaten in just seconds. A dizzy opponent has that window where they can instantly be knocked down. However, this window can be quite small, and it's easy for even a world-class player to miss. Fortunately, Zallard invented a way around that. Buffer strategies. It's possible to waste the exact number of frames you want, so an attack will land on the same frame every time. For example, let's say Gabby J's knockdown
It seems like the
window
hardest part
is
about
between
Super Punch-Out's
120
always
and
going to be the
129
RNG.
frames after the dizzy begins.
I can't imagine there's too
Well,
much
it just so
you can do to
happens that a
manipulate
full
it.
duck, a right body punch, and a high super waste exactly 120 frames. Non-random fights like Gabby J are usually pretty simple, but the difficulty level ramps up as the game goes on. Take Aaron Ryan, the 9th fight. The first knockdown is from a dizzy, but when he gets up, you have to precisely time a super to counter his attack and send him down again. Zallard didn't have a buffer to time it, but he nailed it to send him down for the KO.
Good to see you, Trey. I've been alright, man. Hope you're doing well.
Those fights are non-random or close to it. Some have tough punches that have to be timed, while others are even simpler.
I have to imagine
the
speedrunning
gist
a
of
game
the
this old is
non-random
always going to be
fights.
frustrating too.
But then, there are the random fights.
Please
These
do
are the
some Nampo.
fights that more or less define Super Punch-Out as a speed game. Not only do you need to execute properly, that's a given, but you also need to deal with luck. Luck that can range from a golden opportunity to potentially
Just get
killing a
lucky.
run.
Fucking
Take
idiots.
Dragon Chan, the 6th fight in the game. The first phase of the fight, up until the first knockdown, is simple. You throw a sequence of gut punches, most with a slight delay before them, then use a buffer sequence to send him down. Phase 2, once he's up from the first knockdown, is where the randomness begins.
Yeah, I saw ADP's TikTok.
There are 3 things Dragon Chan can do here. 50% of the time he does kicks, where you have to just dodge out of the way, then use rapid punches to send him down at around 12 seconds. 25% of the time, he does a slow heal, where he stands still and tries to heal his health. 2 supers send him down, and you get a time in the high 9-second range. And 25% of the time, he does a fast heal, where using just 1 super gives a time in the high 7s. That's a range of more than 4 seconds for 1 fight. Given that boxers are beaten in 15 seconds or less, that's a massive time swing. And Dragon Chan is just one example. Zallard had to deal
RNG
with
and
luck
runs
like
is always
this
the most frustrating
on more than
thing.
half the fights in the game. But we'll get to that later. For now, the sum of his 16 fights came out to 3 minutes and 10 seconds. It was a well-executed run, and
good.
had a range of good and bad luck.
RNG and
Took
races
it lower
is nice
into the
though.
3s, approaching
Like what,
the
like
sub-3
F-Zero?
barrier, but
For speed
falling
runs?
just short. However, on March 19th, thanks to a couple fights in particular, Zallard had a very promising run. This is Bob Charlie. He's a gauntlet of RNG, and being the 5th fight in the game, he's the earliest boxer who can kill a run from randomness alone. Zallard went for the riskiest strategy on Bob, which involves hitting him 7 times in the face.
The game's so quick though, you could probably always go for the riskiest one.
However, he can randomly dodge any of these 7 punches, meaning you have to do an additional punch later on to make up for it. He can also dodge that punch. However, every dodged punch loses a second and a half. One dodge isn't too bad, but 2 or 3 or 4 dodges, your time can spiral in a hurry.
I imagine they found a cool glitch at some point
this particular
just
run,
to fuck him up.
Bob only dodged once, so he moved on with a very solid 6.99.
When are you running the Hobbit?
Unfortunately, Dragon Chan
I still
gave
have to
kicks,
learn it.
so he failed to gain much time there. But thanks to some very solid execution down the stretch, Zalard was able to keep it close going into the special circuit.
Hey, summoning salt!
And it was there he had to face off against Hoy Carlo.
Oh, you don't want to face off against Hoy Carlo. That guy's a bad man.
Brutal. He's extremely random, and he's the 3rd to last fight in the game. Not an opportune time for a bunch of RNG. A lot of the first phase of the fight is playing it by ear. You want to throw punches and hit him with supers to get him dizzy. Of course, he can randomly block you, duck under punches, and potentially shove you to the side. If he shoves, it destroys your dizzy meter and can kill your run instantly. In phases 2 and 3, you need to throw supers to knock him down twice more. You can beat Hoy in 8 seconds.
I feel like it's always worth to go for that.
The odds in getting it were less than 2%.
Oh, maybe not.
A 10 to 12 second Hoy is very solid, but it can get ugly quickly. If he shoves in phase 1, it can be impossible to beat him in under 20 seconds. As you can imagine, it's awful to have to deal with this at the end of a run. But this time, Zalard got some luck. An 11-second Hoy with no ducks.
Not bad.
It put him ahead, and he never looked back.
Thanks, we said Doggo and Big Mom.
254 single segment run. Fantastic execution.
Breaking the 3-minute mark.
And sub 3 by a mile. Zalard could only manage 1 word of analysis. What? With the record being below 3 minutes, Zalard would take a break from Super Punch-Out runs. He was the only runner in sight of the record. Months passed, and his 254 was just solidified at the top. But as good as that 254 was, Zalard knew he could still squeeze a bit more time out of it. So in early 2014, he hopped back on and started doing attempts. On January 23rd, he had a run with an okay start. 2 dodges from Bob Charlie, and some mistakes that put him slightly further behind.
Oof.
On Hoy, he got a solid 12-second fight with no ducks, but some bad luck at the end brought the run back to nearly even. Just weeks later, he chipped away a bit more. He had a reasonable pace into the special circuit with time to save. However, he still had to get.
I don't remember that schoolboy.
1, 2. Yeah.
5 gift subs, truly. And tier 1 Mike.
Dick.
Truly.
3 dodges.
Not exactly ideal. Even so, with time to save at the end, Zalard was able to do it again.
Fuck yeah! Another 1/3 of a second.
Now,
this is one of those games that's just always going to have a perfect optimization.
They weren't exactly setting the world
like a theoretical best limit.
In all, Zalard had lowered the record by 0.75 seconds. He knew he could do more, and weeks passed, but the game's killer randomness prevented any other records. It was starting to get very frustrating. And then came February 27th,
T-Pain
2014.
Starts running it. No, I haven't looked, but I can tell you just right away, EDP did not get killed. That's like that Rip Joe Rogan meme. He's not dead. Literally, one guy said that, and for like the last 5 minutes, there's been a bunch of other people asking if it's true. No, it's not. Christ, it's a fucking meme. EDP just opened a TikTok account. Unless TikTok assassins got him in the last 40 minutes, I guess it's possible. Unlikely. I don't feel like looking. I can just probably assume it's just a meme.
Luck had finally gone his way. His
tier
execution
one
had
wrench.
been on point from start to finish, more than 4 seconds ahead of the record. This was a rare opportunity to jump straight to the 240s. But in his way was one more fight, the last fight in the game. And this one was gonna be tough. Nick Bruiser.
Oh no.
Nick Bruiser is the
Goddamn.
most difficult fight in the run by a long shot. Just as with other fights, your goal is to get Nick dizzy and time a super to knock him down. The best way to get him dizzy is to counter him, then jab him out until the meter is filled and he backs away.
Too easy
Well,
almost.
there's one extra consideration to make. Nick can throw his punch either high or low. There's a 50% chance of each. So you start the fight with 2 face punches, and then you have to react to which punch he sets up.
So this is where the
to throw.
talent comes in.
If Nick drops
Separates
his glove
boys from
down,
men.
he's throwing low, and you counter with a body punch. If instead he brings them up high, you counter with a face punch. The window to react to this is just barely within the limits of a human reaction time.
It can't
have
be
to see if
tighter
his
than
gloves are
Sifu.
high or low, then send the signal to your hands to throw high
Oh,
or
wait,
low
holy
in
shit, that was
time
it?
before Nick punches you. If you're playing with any input delay, this is practically
Oh, what the fuck?
the only way to have a real chance is to play on console with a CRT TV. Now, imagine having to do that at the very end of a record-paced
Okay,
run,
Not gonna lie, that's
after
pretty tight
all
timing.
the insane RNG from the first 15 fights. The pressure
There's
you're
some
under in a
Dingle and
situation
Kogadama.
like this is enormous.
And bit stable.
Nick can also switch his guard partway through, starting with his gloves high and bringing them low, or vice versa. You have to react if he does that. And finally, if you do everything properly in Phase 1, well, congratulations. You have to do the exact same thing in Phase 2, unless he randomly blocks you, in which case you have to get lucky and hope he lets you land 2 supers in a row. So, Zallard entered Nick Bruiser 4
Easy
seconds
prime
ahead of
clickbait.
the record.
And the resub Dingle.
If he was going to pull this off, he had to execute the most difficult strategy in the game on one of the best paces he had ever been on.
Zallard doesn't
Just
crumble
don't
under
mess up.
pressure, though. Man doesn't even feel pressure. Easy counter. Nice. Oh, that's game time, baby. Put him in the books.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Not only did he hit the counter, but he did so on the first frame possible. A frame-perfect counter speeds up Phase 1 by a fraction of a second and allows for some wiggle room later on. One more phase, and the sub 250
He doesn't
will be
choke.
his.
He doesn't choke, though. Oh, baby.
Oh, please.
What'd I tell ya?
Stay down. Stay down, you motherfucker. Yes!
Let's go!
Yes!
Can he get up after that? I thought it was just kaput.
Yes, dude. Get fucked, Super Punch Out.
Super Punch-Out had just been taken to a new level. A sub 250 was
Please
Zallard's
use some
ultimate
wavy.
goal, and in dramatic fashion, he had done it. With nobody close to him on the leaderboards, he felt safe to stop running the game. Mission accomplished.
Until Distortion 2 runs it. Man's run every other game. Might as well take another record. Oof. What's happening? Oh, we're going straight to hell now. The bad boy Punch-Out appears? You're goddamn right.
Nick Bruiser.
Has Summoning Salt ever covered one of your speedruns? No, but he told me he's going to be covering Mr. Krabs overdoses on ketamine and dies and House of Caravan, so he will soon. Yeah, just keep your eyes peeled. It's coming, I'm sure.
Heartbreaking. Nick threw his punch up, but Zallard missed the counter. It was on pace for a mind-boggling 240 with 2 fights to go, and a 243 into Nick. This wouldn't have beaten the record. It would have obliterated it. Unfortunately, landing counters on Nick under pressure is one of the hardest things you can do. And this time, it was just too much for him. He saved almost 7 seconds combined on Bob Charlie and Dragon Chan, with just one dodge and the fast heal, respectively. There was also some time to save on Hoi. Getting a time around 10 seconds was reasonable. The real problem was getting all that to line up, then landing counters on Nick knowing what you're about to possibly do. On June 3rd, 2015, Zallard had a run that saved the 7 seconds early, but unfortunately, he lost most of that time on Mad Clown.
What?
Clown is yet another point of severe RNG in the run. There's a lot that
Mad Clown's a joke!
But a lot of what to look for is what happens right at the start. You begin by throwing 2 face punches and hoping they both land. If they do, you're in good shape for later. If he dodges, you're losing about a second, but if he blocks, you lose time there and in phase 2 since he gets a bigger health refill. If both punches land to start the fight, you can beat Clown in as low as 9 seconds.
That's
the best case scenario.
Tier 1 whoopity.
An average standard Mad Clown fight is in the 12-second range. However, if he really wants to screw around, it can get much worse.
And Super Punch out a good game.
This particular run, Clown wasn't playing nice and Zallard missed a counter to waste a few seconds. But an 11 on Hoi and a good Nick fight was enough for a solid record.
Why even continue after 16 Clown? The motivation.
For real?
The balls on this man.
For real, dude?
Just a few days later, Zallard would follow this up with another record, a 244.
Ooh.
It was a nice time, but a frustrating run of give and take. He got a 5 on Bob, but it was immediately followed up with kicks on Dragon Chan. He gained several seconds on Clown, but lost a few on Hoi. But really, he was fortunate to get what he did. The game can take an incredible pace and make it look
Does Zallard ever compete against anyone though, or is it just Zallard?
Take this run.
Lonely at the top.
June 10th, 2015. Everything was going right. Zallard had managed a 5 on Bob Charlie, a 7 on Dragon Chan from the low heel, and a reasonable 13 on Mad Clown. He was 3.5 seconds ahead, with more time to save later. He just had to make it through the next few fights. This is Super Macho Man, the last fight in the World Circuit. Zallard's Phase 1 strategy at the time was simple. Start with a gut punch,
Spam.
then counter him a couple times, throw a couple supers, and knock him down in the upper 6-second range. Macho can mess things up if he dances around, but more often than not, you should be good for a knockdown in the upper 6s. However, this fight takes a turn in Phase 2. You can get Macho to stay down for the second knockdown, but only if this knockdown comes within the following 3 seconds after the first knockdown. So, in this scenario, if your second knockdown comes at 7, 8, or 9 seconds, Macho will stay down for a KO. If it comes at 10 seconds or later, he'll get up and you'll have to knock him down a third time. So, Zallard had to go for a very quick knockdown in Phase 2. He had to throw a low super, counter in the gut, then knock him down with another low
Seems
super.
like that should be good, right?
If Macho moves around at the start, this strategy doesn't work. If Macho does any of his 3 exercise programs, this strategy doesn't work. The only way it works is if Macho stands perfectly still for the whole phase. So, what did Macho do this time?
Oh!
That's what I thought.
He lost more than 7 seconds. A brutal blow, but the run was still technically alive.
How?
Next up, however, was Narcissus Prince. The most random fight in the entire game. Honestly,
it looks like one of those
too many
Toy
different
Story
things
dolls.
this guy can do to explain here. He can randomly block you, dodge you, give many different patterns, and much more. But he has the same KO mechanic as Macho, where if your second knockdown is within 3 seconds of your first, he typically stays down for good. But there's so much that can go wrong. And what sort of fight do you think he gave Zallard on this run?
The best one.
Nice. Good shit, Narcissus. You're so good. Let's see here. What is that? 2173?
Pretty good.
12 seconds. Nope.
Run over. A small mistake plus a lot of bad luck. In just 2 fights, one of
Thanks for playing,
Zallard's
James.
best paces ever was completely destroyed. He had just lost 16 seconds, largely due to no fault of his own. Because, you see, Super Punch-Out does not care about the runner.
Oh yeah, she's a cruel
It
mistress.
doesn't care what pace you're on. It doesn't care how badly you want the record.
Exit Prime.
It doesn't care
Overt
how
GL.
well you're playing. It can take away your run whenever it feels, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. So, 244 was where the record stayed. More months went by, with no improvements in sight. Interestingly, in August 2015, a second person managed a sub
Oh, let's
3
go!
when Hootie
New
pulled
face?
off a 253. But he was far from the record. Still, Zallard at least had a little bit of competition now. But on September 30th, he was gonna have a chance. A second behind the record, with 6 fights to go, Zallard entered Mad Clown, needing a good fight. He ended up with an 11,
Not bad.
easily good enough. On Macho, he got the good luck for a 10-second fight.
Okay, okay.
Narcissus didn't mess around too much, and he was able to get the KO at 11 seconds. Suddenly, Zallard was back in the lead.
Well,
Thanks for gift sub agent.
Next up was Hoy,
Tier
who
1
we
loot.
know can
loot.
be just awful. But he got no ducks in phases 2 or 3. Yet another 11-second fight. And Zallard was 2 seconds
He's fucking
ahead.
cooking.
2 fights to go.
Now he just has to beat Android 16.
This run was on pace for a 241. The type of run Zallard had been looking for years. But there's one fight I haven't told you about yet. Because Nick Bruiser has a twin brother that comes right before him.
Oh,
This is Rick Bruiser. Rick is
I
a
don't know what I
really
was
straightforward fight. There's no luck involved for the first 2 phases, and the execution isn't too hard either. You get him dizzy in phase 1, then use counters and supers in phase 2. That stuff's fine. But then there's phase 3.
3?
The entire fight is made or broken on the first punch of this phase. If this high super lands, you'll finish the fight at 11 seconds. That's a 5-second difference.
Yeah, that's
Enormous
unforgivable.
for a game like this. 5/8 of the time, the super lands. 3/8 of the time, it does not.
Thanks for
That's
sub.
all there is to it.
Animav.
A little over half the time, Rick Bruiser will let you through, but 3 times out of 8, he will destroy your run. So,
That's Rick for ya.
Zallard entered the fight 2 seconds ahead. A huge opportunity, but he had the threat of a massive time loss hanging over his head.
So who haven't we seen then? So it looks like, I mean, and I knew this going in, it's very RNG heavy, but it looks like every single boss can just be a run-ender except for Gabby, Wreck-It Ralph, whoever the fuck this is up here. Super Macho Man was a run-ender. Bob Charlie, also RNG heavy, pretty tough. The Luchador Rey Mysterio here, he hasn't mentioned, so I'm guessing that's free. Raccoon or whoever this is also must be free, haven't mentioned. This guy also hasn't been mentioned, probably free. And then Mad Clown, Super Macho, Narcissus, Hoy. So basically just the second half of the run is really tough, with 2 in the middle.
And what did Rick Bruiser do? Well, it's Super Punch-Out, late on record pace.
Thanks for your sub,
What do you think Rick did?
Bent over and let him have it. Ooh!
do it. So it's over. The run is dead.
no mercy.
Thanks for Prime Arctic.
244 is where the record would have to stay. Zallard took a break for a few months, but still, there was no real threat to his record. Hootie was still the second place runner, nearly 10 seconds behind. So, in early 2016, Zallard came back for more, praying he could get the last few seconds within his grasp. On April 14th, he had a run slightly behind.
It must be super frustrating to be that close to the theoretical
He had
best.
time to save against a 14 Narcissus split, and
the reset
managed a
shade.
13. And once again, he squeezed out a second. So, Zallard was ahead going into Rick Bruiser. If he would just stand still and take the uppercut, he was gonna have a shot at the record. He needed the 5/8 luck.
We got it.
And he got it. Zallard was now 2 Nick counters away from a world record.
Not by a ton though, right? He's not going to be satisfied with that. If there's one thing I know about Zallard, is he is just not satisfied unless it is the best.
More.
Thanks, Resub.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Finally, Zallard had lowered the record. This wasn't the god run he was looking for.
Fuck, I'm sorry to hear that, Blue
Dragon
Man.
Chan gave kicks, Clown gave a 12, and the
Here's a
special
Prime
circuit
Maturity.
could have been better, but it was still a 243. After this run, Zallard took a step back not only from Super Punch-Out, but from speedrunning as a whole. For a year and a half, he didn't do any runs, giving other runners a serious opportunity to step in and take the record.
So Hootie and Samantha?
But nobody did.
Oh.
Zallard remained at the top unchallenged, with the closest player still being Hootie. It's quite rare.
Come on,
to have
Hootie, what the
records
fuck?
Undisputed for this long. But Zallard's mastery of the game
Thanks, Resub,
was
Callie,
far
and the
ahead
gift
of
sub, Big
anyone
Meat.
else's. Finally, 18 months after his 243, he went back to attempts. It was hard to expect a record right away, since it had been so long since his last attempts. It took some time to get back into it, but he eventually started getting runs deep. Still, nothing good enough for a record. But all of a sudden, on November 29th, 2017,
Oh.
Zallard found himself on this run.
Getting close to current year. Oh, it's looking pretty good. Mad Clown getting fucked. Okay, okay. Ooh.
This is kind of stupid.
Super Macho Man,
I
though.
get the there's no way I'm getting the KO, dude. No fucking way, dude. No fucking way. What is this?
The God Run online?
What is this bullshit?
Narcissus even making it easy? Okay, okay. It's fate. The heavens have chosen him. The boy wonder.
Alright, Rick could totally fucking dodge me, and it could still be okay.
Don't say that. Don't even put that bad. Oh, let's go. This is big. Sub 230 online. Now it's all up to Nick.
I'm gonna miss, dude.
Will he let us eat his ass? Come on, baby. Fucking boss baby out here. Oh! Oh my god! Zallard! No, Zallard!
One of the toughest things to do in speedrunning is executing under pressure. Super Punch-Out may be known for its randomness, but even when you walk the lines, you still have to execute. And if you don't, you're gonna get punished.
Oh, it's tough.
Fortunately, after years of running the game, Zallard had become quite resilient, and a few months later, he had another run ahead into the special circuit, albeit not quite as far ahead.
Yeah, fuck this, man.
But
Who
suddenly,
cares?
after
This is a
managing
bad,
a
stupid
10 on
run.
Hoi, the pace became much more serious.
Oh!
A 6-second lead late in the run.
Wait a minute.
Just 2 fights to go. A huge chance for redemption. Wanna guess what Rick did in Phase 3? Of course. Still, he led by about a second, and hit the counters on Nick for a small record. It wasn't what it could have been, but a 242 was
He's
still
a tier 1
progress
Greg.
made. And on April 26th, he'd make even more progress. A 240.36.
Here we go.
Cutting off nearly 2
Zalyard.
seconds, this was the biggest improvement he had made to the record in nearly 3 years. Zalyard didn't sound too happy about it.
Give me the unwinnable luck here, please. Please. God fucking damn it, dude.
Oh, he's not. Yeah, he didn't.
Dude.
Like I said, Zalyard just cares most about the best run.
Why was that? Well, despite the improvement, this run could have been a lot better. He lost over a second and a half from a mistimed low super. Had he not made those errors, this run would have finished at an incredible 236.
Oh, that's tough.
But mistakes were made,
rough.
and the result was a
Give some
frustrating
Mackie,
world
give some
record.
meow.
Take a look at this timeline. This was all Zalyard. He had set 16 records over the course of 5.5 years. This sort of thing is very rarely seen in speedrunning. A runner
Can't
can
anyone
sometimes
challenge this
dominate
guy?
for a few years,
Hootie?
but for it to continue for this long was pretty special. Zalyard had eyes for a run in the 230s, but 240 was a seriously good time. And it was going to have to
Enjoy
be
the new
good
car
enough,
base, babe.
as Zalyard slowly stopped playing and didn't run the game for months. But suddenly, in 2019, the unthinkable happened. A new contender began rising up the leaderboards.
Oh my god, a challenger?
He became the second player to get a time under 250.
Who is it? What's his name?
And suddenly,
Is it
he was
Mizkif?
just 5 seconds from the record. And he was going to try to do something nobody else had done before. Become the first Super Punch-Out single-segment record holder not named Zalyard 1. His name was Mystery Man 95.
Oh, that's so fitting too.
Mystery Man was a seasoned veteran in the Punch-Out series, running Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and holding the record in Punch-Out Wii. These games all require precise timing and rhythm, so it's no
Is the
wonder he was able
recipient?
to adapt so easily. But there's one other thing to keep in mind about Mystery Man. He
We don't
played
know it.
on Wii U Virtual Console, meaning he had a few frames of input delay. Remember how you have to react to Nick Bruiser's guard? That's effectively impossible with input delay.
So he just has to guess.
So, Mystery Man had to just guess where Nick's guard is and not react.
Honestly,
This
probably for
added
the
a
best.
huge luck barrier to the end of the game. He'd usually have to correctly guess a 50-50 guard position twice in a row.
That's what I said at the very beginning. So since the run it's like a 3-minute run at worst. I really think it is always for the best. Maybe just to gamble on luck and go for that optimal strat. Because without reacting and just letting fate take it, you do save some time and takes a lot of stress off the plate. It's like, out of my hands. I gambled. Because it's so short, you can just restart. You can do like fucking 2,000 runs a day, right? Oh, true. 15 RTA. You're not wrong. Okay, true. That's right. Yeah, actually, yeah. Okay, I'm a fucking idiot. True.
Fortunately, Mystery Man had some strategies to help on other fights. One was on
These are
Bob
Chunky
Charlie.
in the Prime X move.
The old
Resub
strategy
sucks.
involved 7 punches in Phase 1 where Bob could dodge any of them. Instead, he countered Bob on the 5th one and did the rest while stunning him. This cost about a second, but made it so that Bob could now only dodge the first 4 punches rather than all 7. By delaying Phase 1 slightly to get the knockdown at a 7 instead of a 6, the KO window shifted up to 10 seconds instead of 9. You could then delay the first punch of Phase 2 so that it intercepts if Macho hops to the side, making a KO possible.
Damn,
in
Mystery
more
Man kinda
situations. These strategies were both developed by Chambers, and Zalyard did use them for his last few records,
Oh.
but not the majority of them. So, Mystery Man had a chance
Makes you
to
so crispy.
really put these strats to use and see what he could do. And in August 2019, with his personal best at 245, he was going to try to close the gap on one attempt.
Oh, Mystery Man's dialed in. Can you feel that? Typing in chat during his own record. What a maniac. That's that alpha shit. Oh! Big counter. The 50-50! Is Mystery Man the one chosen by the gods? Mystery Man! Oh! He did it. Nice. Good work. Hey, Team Mystery Man.
There was a new king of Super Punch-Out, and he had done it by a mile. Mystery Man himself didn't see this coming. A 236 demolished the record. The most incredible part of this run was the special circuit. It set a new standard. A 12 on Narcissus was a solid start, but a 9 on Hoy was incredible. Rick took the uppercut in phase 3, and he landed both counters on Nick. For the first time ever, the record didn't belong to Zallard 1. Mystery Man had ushered in a new era of Super Punch-Out speedrunning, as slowly, the leaderboard began to expand with more
floodgates are open now. This is how it always happens.
This was the type of competition Super Punch-Out had been missing for the last several years. By mid-2020, there were 7 runners with a time below 3 minutes. One of those people was known as Stock, slowly lowering his personal best before settling on a 245.
His recent berserk.
This meant he was still 9 seconds from the record. But in August 2020, he would find himself on a remarkable pace. 10 seconds ahead of his personal best,
holy shit,
and a second ahead of the record, going into Rick.
Was that clown? Hold on, I want to look at that clown. A 9-second clown? Is that better than Mystery Man's? I don't remember what his clown was. That feels like super fast.
This was a 2:35 pace, and he was in position to take the record. He just needed Rick to stand still in phase 3.
Let's go, Rick. Be nice. Thanks, Rick.
He did not. But thanks to his huge lead, Stock still finished with a 2:39, the second sub 240 ever achieved. Entering 2021, Mystery Man's world record was still on top, but the community was ever expanding. By February, 2 more players had achieved times in the
shit's
low
getting
240s.
crazy now.
Cranklinson and
the new
Mr.
generation.
Mega. And the top of the leaderboard was getting quite crowded. It seemed inevitable that someone was gonna break through.
He's a prime Chiron.
And on February 26th, Cranklinson was gonna have a shot at it. Just like Mystery Man, Cranklinson played on Wii U Virtual Console.
Oh boy,
so
he's fucked.
He too had to guess on both of Nick's counters. The odds were stacked against him, but all he could do was try.
Oh shit! Let's go, Cranklinson.
New world record, 235.68. Cranklinson had about as close to a perfect second half as possible. Specifically, these 3 fights were impossible to gain time on, at least with the strategies he was using. But when combined with the incredible second half, it was easily good enough for a record.
Was it enough to get the community to give him an Elgato so he could film it better?
More active. By May, 6 people had a time in the 230s. As incredible as Zallard's dominance was,
now he's nowhere to be seen.
He was now in 7th place. The level of luck you needed for a world record run was rapidly increasing. If you got a 12 on Narcissus, that suddenly didn't look so good compared to the 9 that was in the record. A few new strategies were worked out, particularly on Narcissus, but the biggest one was on Hoy. Cranklinson had figured out a new phase 1 that would ultimately give a higher chance for the 8-second TKO. Those fights would be crucial as the record was approaching the low 230s.
Oh,
in
rip Zallard.
mid-2021, players Murakuma, Mr. Mega, Universe, and Fat Potato Seal would all have runs make it to the final 2 fights on record pace, and for the rest, they lost the run to Nick Bruiser.
Damn you, Nick.
Especially at the end of a run, it was really hard to get everything to align. But players knew there was a little more they could get out of this run. With several people at the top trying, they knew that the God Run could happen. A run where everything lines up.
You just have to believe.
In a run like this
Get
were
some
getting
Shungai
very
crystals.
low.
Fucking
At this
rub 'em.
point, likely 1 in several hundred.
Oh, that's so sad. You don't even see Zallard in the screenshot there. The man who dominated the scene for, what was it? I think it was like 5... what was it? Almost like 5 years? No, it was longer than that. Wasn't it like... It was like 6 or 7 years or something. 6 years. 5 years? Was it 5? Fuck. Regardless. 5+ years. And then the new generation comes, the fucking Zoomers, and they kick him out. God rest the soul of the old guard.
On September 3rd, 2021, Mr. Mega was doing some record attempts. And he suddenly found himself on an incredible pace. A 6 on Bob, followed by a 7 on Dragon
Let
Champ,
Zallard
and a
rest.
7
He built
on
the stadium
Muscle.
they play in.
3 fights in a row with perfect RNG. So far, this was essentially a perfect run. He lost a bit over a second thanks to a 10 on Clown,
rough.
and got a 12 on Narcissus, but he could easily afford it on this pace. A little over a second ahead going into Hoi, now more than ever, he needed a good fight.
Thanks to Prime Pulley Beats. Oh, I thought the game crashed.
An 8 is a perfect time for Hoi. Rick Bruiser led his super through, and Mr. Mega was 3.5 seconds ahead.
Come on, Nick!
Bruiser.
Come on, Nick!
This wasn't just world record pace. This was destroy the world record pace. If there was ever a time to execute on Nick Bruiser, this was it.
This is the one.
No pressure.
And Mr. Mega's never felt pressure in his life. Oh yeah, that's Mr. Mega.
First counter.
Oh, some wonder if he's even human. Let's go.
World record, dude. Are you fucking serious? Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. 232.
Let's go, Mr. Mega.
A huge world record from Mr. Mega.
Damn.
He had just shot
Fucking Clown unlucky. This would have been a crazy record too if not for Clown and Narcissus. Sad. It was very close to the God Run.
from Mr. Mega. He had just shot himself from 5th to 1st place. This was the time the community had been looking
Yeah, I
for
saw
all these
Foreskin.
years.
I saw his TikTok.
A run in the low 230s. Good luck nearly everywhere. And nailing it down on Nick Bruiser. It wasn't perfect, but the opportunities for time saves were extremely limited. Super Punch-Out had finally gotten the run it deserved.
He's resub Nova.
And that's where this
Donut
video would
in
end.
Atlanta.
That's where the story would end. But it doesn't.
Because T-Pain started
Look,
running it and got a sub
first-person
230.
narration often, but I don't really have words to adequately describe what happened next. Because 8 days after Mr. Mega set this
Is it tier 1
record,
Risu?
Fat Potato Seal did one of the craziest things I've ever seen. On screen is the running total of the odds of the run Fat Potato Seal was on. He answered the first major luck barrier in the game, Bob Charlie, and ended up getting a 6. A perfect fight with
Nice.
no dodges or blocks. He then fought Dragon Chan, and once again got perfect luck with the low heal.
Not bad. 1 in
Masked
20.
Muscle
Basically
also gave the
100%.
best luck possible. He had gotten perfect luck through the first half of the game. He moved to the second half. On Mad Clown, he got a 9-second fight. The best possible luck.
Ooh, the Clown?
Also, he got the KO at 10 seconds. The best possible luck.
That's Fat Potato Seal,
On
baby.
Narcissus, he got a 9-second KO.
Look at that
Technically, a
smile.
high 8 is possible.
He's grinning,
but a
he
low
knows.
9 is essentially the best possible luck.
The gods chose him.
On Hoi, he got an 8-second TKO. The best possible luck. Then it was time for Rick. and his random uppercut in Phase 3. And yes, he got the best possible luck.
I need to hydrate ASAP.
I've been making these videos for 5 years, and this run, I genuinely don't remember seeing anything like this.
And then Nick fucks it. Oh my god, I already know how it ends.
Other than half a second.
Nick ruins it.
On every single fight,
No!
significant RNG swing, he had just gotten perfect luck with his strategies. Not good luck, not great luck, perfect luck.
Don't do it, Nick.
Fat Potato Seal
Nick.
was on a 227
Don't
pace
do it, Nick.
into Nick Bruiser. Just imagine the pressure in a situation like
Oh, I
this.
don't wanna. I already know it. I already know it.
Once in a lifetime opportunity.
I know what happens. Nick fucks it.
Your hands start to go numb.
That bastard.
You feel your heart beating in your throat.
I'm already mad.
Basic tasks become nearly impossible. And landing counters on Nick Bruiser is anything but a basic task. But he might never see this pace again in his life.
Come on, Fat Potato Seal. Let's go. Buckle down. He passes out.
Nick Bruiser.
Come on, Fat Potato Seal. Don't do it, Nick. Give it to the boy. Oh no. I knew it, yeah, I knew it, I already knew it. Damn you, Nick!
Pizza cake. Right on.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
It's hard to expect anyone to have actually pulled it off at the end of this run. Even Fat Potato Seal, one of the best players in the world.
Ah,
The
that's
situation
sad.
he
I knew
was
it was
in
coming.
was
I already knew it.
unprecedented.
I had a fucking
And
feeling.
might not be seen again for months, years, or even longer. But still, it's a heartbreaking feeling. It just goes to show, even when Super Punch-Out does give you the luck, it can still punch you right in the face.
Yeah, true.
Over the years, we've seen all sorts of world records. Ones
Damn,
that
that's
seemed
so
like they
sad.
had no chance, ones that were on monster paces, and everything in between. This run's history isn't over yet, and this timeline isn't yet complete. We're just living in a moment of Super Punch-Out's history, and there's still plenty of history left to go. Thanks for watching.
Another banger.
If
Good
you
shit,
enjoyed,
Summoning Salt.
please consider subscribing and sharing the video with a couple of
Oh,
friends.
that's so
It goes
sad.
a long way to help. Thanks.
Ah, I can't believe that shit. 1 in 2.68 million. Squandered! Did Fat Potato Seal retire after that? I honestly wouldn't blame him if he did. I would not touch the game ever again. You weren't kidding Jesus, you weren't kidding that these vids go by quick. Yeah, because Summoning Salt makes nothing but bangers. 54 minutes, and I swear to God, I feel like I've only been here for 10. Good shit again, Summoning Salt. He almost got world record the day I uploaded. Really? Fat Potato Seal did? Where did he end up? Let me see. Oh, he got second. Yeah, 2 days ago. Alright, well, he didn't quit. He's a stronger man than I am. I would have given up. I would have said, fuck this. Everyone fucking hates Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings Amazon show. I just thought it looked really generic. I don't have any strong feelings on it at all, but people are really upset. People love Lord of the Rings. Yeah, and I didn't think they did like a super disservice to it or anything, at least not based on the only trailer that's out right now. Or at least the only one I think is out right. Oh, there's a new one. No, wait, this is the one they played during the Oh no, this is new. Maybe I'll hate it.
What else is out there?
Maybe I'll start making my own Twitter hate thread. So this is supposed to take place before they even forged the Ring of Power, right? So before Sauron and all that. Yeah, just like the other trailers, I have absolutely no strong feelings on that. So why are people super upset? It doesn't even look like shitty. There's nothing in there that jumped out at me as like, damn, this looks like a pile of shit. It just looks painfully generic, which I guess for a lot of people could be grounds for being upset. This scene doesn't look very cool though. I will agree, this is kind of goofy. Set 2,000 years before the Ring of Power. Yeah, I guess I don't really understand what there is to be super upset about. It just doesn't show much of anything. It just looks very generic. It'll probably suck because it's a reboot. How is it a reboot? It just takes place 2,000 years or something before the Ring of Power. Damn. They just got that L plus ratio down here. Just spamming the Tolkien quote. That's the issue. It's too generic, and all that love Lord of the Rings are raging over it not being perfect. I mean, I'll agree this trailer is very generic, but that doesn't mean I have any strong feelings on it one way or the other. Doesn't mean the show has to be garbage. I thought Game of Thrones looked painfully generic, which is why I didn't watch it for the longest time, and then I ended up really liking Game of Thrones all the way up until season 7 and 8. I'll probably never watch Game of Thrones. You probably shouldn't. There's no reason to. It concludes horribly, and the conclusion is honestly one of the most important things in storytelling, so if your conclusion is dog shit, it ruins pretty much the whole journey there, in my opinion. You can have a mediocre conclusion, and everything's fine, but an actually terrible one, it undoes the entire journey. What about The Hobbit? I didn't think the Hobbit movies were horrible. They're definitely not very good, but they were serviceable. They were nowhere near up to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but the Hobbit movies weren't terrible either. I mean, they were fine. They weren't like insultingly awful or anything. It was just like a steep decline in quality compared to the original trilogy. Depends on the ending and how long it was going downhill. Mass Effect 3 doesn't ruin the journey. I guess video games is a little different because you get to play you get to like literally control the experience all the way up until the end. So if the ending's shitty, you can still at least remember how much fun you had getting there. I feel like it's just different for a movie or a show or a series like that. You a Walking Dead fan? Stopped watching Walking Dead after season 5. I don't think you'll like the Attack on Titan ending. We'll see. So far I've been loving it. I'm expecting it to have a bad ending because most anime does, but again, I would really like if it didn't. Hopefully it doesn't, we'll see. Wasn't Game of Thrones last season bad because George R.R. Martin didn't publish the final book, so the show just made up the conclusion? Common misconception. George will never finish that book. That man writes 3 sentences every 2 years and then takes another 5-year hiatus. But the reason Game of Thrones season 7 and 8 were bad is because the showrunners were getting a Star Wars offer, and they declined HBO's offer of letting them do 2 or 3 more seasons to wrap it up. They said they want to do it in 1. So they made Game of Thrones season 8. They rushed everything, and it was so bad they ended up losing their Star Wars deal anyway, so fuck them. But yeah, they outright declined HBO's offer for more seasons in order to properly conclude the story. Apparently the ending was pretty much what George R.R. Martin had in mind, but since the showrunners wanted to speedrun it, they just rushed to the end and nothing connected, nothing made sense, which is why the pacing was so all over the place. White Walkers die in like episode 2. It's like fucking crazy. They deserve to lose all of their job opportunities after that because they actually just wiped their ass with the whole show just to be done with it quicker, and it ruined it. That's why you'd never hear anyone talk about Game of Thrones anymore. Game of Thrones was one of the most talked about, literally the most pirated show of all time and one of the most popular properties. The second Game of Thrones season 8 ended, you haven't heard a fucking peep. Whereas Breaking Bad still talked about. Most pirated show even more than anime. I think it was Game of Thrones season 7. Or no, it might have been season 6 for Game of Thrones. I don't remember which one. But this was when the Pirate Bay was still popping off. Game of Thrones season 6 or 7, whatever it was so popular that pretty much all torrent sites that were hosting it were just getting overloaded. It was so widely pirated. It was just watched by everyone. Oh, that's what it was. It was Battle of the Bastards. You're right. That's the one. What about how they ruined Star Wars Episode 8? Oh, that's another thing, yes. The new Star Wars trilogy, when that concluded, you don't really hear anything about it other than how awful it was. Yeah. That one was just as sad. They did that without a roadmap and kept switching directors, so then they just ended up fucking scavenging for anything they could to almost throw something together, and it didn't work. Thanks for the resub, Sean. The TV shows are pretty okay. Boba Fett I'm not really into. I hear episodes 5 and 6 are pretty good, but I have not liked the first 3 so far. So I'd have to like really force myself to get through them. Watch The Great Spider-Man Suit Heist.
Oh my goodness, you are absolutely gonna love this tale. At least I hope so. It's got it all. Big budget superhero movies, theft, betrayal, a surprise twist ending.
Can't be.
It's got those 4 things and maybe 1 or 2 more things in addition to those
Jesus,
things.
I'm gonna come.
This is the story.
This has everything.
Great Spider-Man Suit Heist. Certainly Marvel's most costly endeavor, with a budget coming in at $139 million, excluding an astronomical marketing budget. The biggest sets, the flashiest CGI, the most upside down of kisses.
I need to
the
rewatch
stunts,
this.
Spider-Man look. Not to reinvent the imagery, but to simply translate that comic book look into live action as faithfully as possible without it looking hokey. Easier said than done, of course. The process of actually bringing it to life.
I bet the movie's aged pretty well.
Handcrafting of form-fitting suits using full-body casts.
I remember it being really
both
good.
Tobey Maguire and the stunt performers.
Cyber.
He ended up taking one of the suits home to help acclimatize his body and mind for the lengthy shoot ahead. Foam muscles were
Damn.
also built. Individually
Prime Toby
crafted
kinda ripped.
and set slightly apart under the suit to create an added consistency to the musculature, plus a little bit more bulk to the character. Since raised computer-cut webbing was then added to give the whole thing a 3D look, and a hard helmet-like shell was
He's a
placed
good
under the
sub-axle.
mask to keep a consistent head shape no matter whom was in the suit. And the result? Fantastic. Each individual suit cost $50,000 US dollars. So by that calculation, at minimum, that's $3 million for the Spider-Man suits alone. But realistically, probably more. And wouldn't you know it?
To be fair, 50K is like a single Louis Vuitton
Four of
purse
these
now.
very expensive suits went missing. Whereas anyway, it was none of that. The suits were tallied up, and those 4 were deemed definitively stolen.
Oh.
Seems as though were taken from a locked building inside the Sony lot. There was only one plausible
Willem
scenario.
Dafoe.
It was an inside job, but nobody saw anything, or nobody was talking. Either way, Sony did not take the theft lightly and offered up a public reward for $25,000 for the safe return of these items.
Yeah, they'd be hard to sell too.
And we hope this reward will help get them back.
Well, like who are you gonna fucking sell a
Whomever
suit
this
to
person
for
or
50
persons
grand?
was, they had gone to ground. Fast forward a year to June of 2000.
Is it Tier 1 Cruise?
If you need some added context for the era that we're in. Without me, Eminem. Hot in Here, Nelly.
Oh,
Soak Up
God,
the
that was
Sun
such a good
by
song.
Sheryl Crow. Complicated, Avril Lavigne.
Oh, Prime Avril Lavigne? Let's go.
I don't know that one. But look, Spider-Man comes out and it's a monster hit. If you were the person who had the suits, you'd probably think at this point you're in the clear. The studio's focusing on a sequel. They're absolutely besotted with their own success. The cops don't know nothing, and Tobey Maguire is running amok in that celebrity poker scene. You know the one. Eventually having his allegedly terrible antics replicated in the film Molly's Game, as portrayed by actor Michael Cera. That's true, look it up. Then, in September of 2000,
Yeah, apparently people hated working with Tobey Maguire.
of one Jeffrey Glenn Gustafson spoke up. In September of the previous year, her now ex-husband filed for divorce
There's a
at the
prime.
Stanley Mosque Courthouse,
Avior?
Los Angeles. Yes, turns out that her ex-husband, Jeffrey Glenn Gustafson, aged 35, had worked as a security guard at Sony Pictures Entertainment.
Ooh,
Culver City
Jeffrey.
Police served search warrants at both his Los Angeles residence and a location in New York. The second of which being where 3 of the pilfered Spider-Man suits were recovered. The 3 suits found in NYC were said to be bought from both Gustafson and another man, Robert Hughes, aged 34. These guys did it. Well, mostly
Aw.
the Gustafson guy. But it
Yeah.
doesn't end there. Anyways, a recovery for that suit was attempted. But also in possession of Gustafson was a Batman Forever suit, snugly fitted to a full-sized mannequin modeled off actor Val Kilmer from the
Yeah, but that movie wasn't
1995
great.
DC blockbuster at $150,000.
Suit was better when it had nipples. When did it have nipples?
Columbia Pictures.
The Clooney Batman had
no
nipples?
contest to 1 felony.
Did it? Which one was Clooney in? He was in Batman and Robin, that's what it was. Man, I don't see any nipples on this suit. Oh, no, I do. Oh, yeah, there's the little bat nipples. It was just dark in that one picture. Pretty cool. It has a bulge, too. Did it? Like Bible Man? God, I miss Bible Man. We should watch more Bible Man at some point. That show slaps.
It was never proven Gustafson stole that suit, so hence he was never charged for it. Wow, what a ride. Do you think I talked a little bit too much about how the suit was developed up top? I did that to kind of, emphasize how expensive and how important they were to Sony.
The
I'm
suit
trying to
was
craft
cool.
a narrative here. Plus, if I'd have invested... Actually, we're not quite done. Because a website called The Original Prop Blog began a brief online investigation in 2008 concerning the authenticity of a metal Terminator endoskull listed on eBay.
What does
said
that have to
be
do
an
with Spider-Man?
original From the Terminator 1984. Thanks, been doing this for 25 years. Most all my props come directly from crew person, producer, director, or FX artist. Also check out www.moviepropsmuseum.com.
God, this
That
is zoomed in
website
so much it actually hurt my eyes.
Still visible, lo and behold, was registered to a Jeffrey Glenn Gustafson. Is it the same guy? Well, let's just say at the very least, it's a guy with the same name
He's a prime
who's
kick.
also in the business of procuring and then selling rare and expensive movie item every Monday.
I need to
Of course, we're
rewatch
gonna be
Spider-Man. It's goofier than you remember. I'm sure it is. All movies made back then had some level of cheese and corniness to them, but I think that's what really helped elevate them to a certain degree. The day Xbox almost died. The day Xbox almost died and how it was saved.
Because it's the day that Xbox almost died.
No, not possible. They did so well with the Xbox One.
May 21st, 2013. That was the day the Xbox One was revealed. And believe it or not, that was the day the Xbox One almost died.
Oh yeah,
it was revealed by
sucks.
Don Matrick. They talked about TV a lot. You might remember some TV montages.
TV, television, TV and movies? TV.
Yeah.
It ended up being $100 more expensive, and that reveal did not focus enough on games. So what went wrong during this reveal?
Pretty much everything
So the
that could go
Xbox
wrong.
One was revealed, and it was a dud.
Besides a wardrobe
for a few
malfunction.
reasons. First, it had an insane "you must always be online" rule that everyone hated. He said, "Get a 360 if you have a problem with it," basically. The exact quote was, "Fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called an Xbox 360. And you just read that quote.
What a douchebag.
And it is just such bad PR.
Needs to be some Lycaon and Lillers.
As you may know already, Don Matrick did not stay at Xbox for very long, but we'll get into that a moment. Always online thing, and there was a dumb sharing policy also. What was the dumb sharing policy? So you would be able to
share.
borrow
It was an
games
Xbox One
to people who were
no
on your
games.
friends list for 30 days. You can only do it once.
It's in gift subs, Lillers.
You can gift games, but you can't borrow them. This was just insane. They later reverted it, but not before Sony released this commercial showing how their sharing functionality works.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Oh, I actually remember this. He just hands him the game. Yeah, I remember that.
PlayStation.
Exclusive content.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. So eventually the Xbox team would eat crow on that and on the borrowing policy, and they would just revert it completely and change what they said. So there was the fact that many believe the Kinect spied on you. Microsoft denied these claims, but
I
according
remember
to
that.
Slate, Microsoft had filed a patent that suggests it is interested in counting the people in the room to charge each of them
I remember
for
that.
pay per user content.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds great, doesn't it? Why would you let that in your living room? Or the fact that, like I said, it was $100 more expensive. It was not great.
The Kinect was great.
The
It
Xbox
had
One,
such
I'll give it
games
this.
like...
It had a really good lineup. Rise, Son of Rome.
Yep.
Pretty good game. It had a new Forza. It had Call of Duty Ghosts. Okay, all the games weren't great.
Our new dog model is taken from high-resolution scans of an actual SEAL Team service dog.
But anyway,
I
the
think
point is,
the
they were
worst
still
two
the market
consoles
leader.
ever
Call of Duty
made
had
are the
exclusive
Wii
content.
U
People
and
were still
Xbox
excited
One.
about Xbox. A lot was going on behind the scenes.
Of course,
And
post
basically
N64.
everybody, not only in the E3 reveal, but also in the original reveal, left Xbox
Exactly,
entirely
Ken.
or were
Exactly.
transferred to different departments.
Do you remember the Stadia?
Yusuf
Stadia
Mehdi,
doesn't count either.
Phil Harrison left Xbox the following year in 2014 also. He went to Google to run the Stadia team.
Hey!
He's the vice president at Google. So
He's doing really well
he's
then.
doing it. He's also very nice. And so Seema said, I've never talked about this before. This was on March 3rd, 2019. But the irony of Don Matrick as Xbox chief was huge for me. When I first came to EA Canada to present the idea of a Microsoft console, he nearly blocked me from addressing the company because he didn't believe it was possible. It was tense. Seamus,
Jesus.
I am very sorry that I said your name wrong,
Pronounced
but I'm also
Seamus,
very
yeah.
sorry that you had to deal with that.
Phil.
He revealed that there was a point that Microsoft just said, let's just abandon Xbox. It's done. It's over.
Yeah.
And now I kind of want to talk about why people like Phil Spencer so much. The reveal, just nobody likes it. Even after the console came out, it was a challenge. Games were running at sub.
Everything was wrong with it. It is a
I remember
trash
Thief
console.
was running at less than 1080.
It was fucking
They weren't
awful.
running well. The PS4 just was knocking it out of the park.
It was a tier 1 Dilbot.
So there was a world where we almost did not have Xbox anymore. And here's what happened. Here, Phil is the reason Xbox still exists. Satya Nadella and Phil basically had a conversation. Those two, and I would argue Bonnie Ross.
Phil said, let's just buy Activision.
Xbox still exists today. So Satya and Phil had a conversation, and it was about continuing the Xbox brand instead of giving it the X. In that interview with Shack News, Phil told Satya Nadella, you know, gaming can be a real important consumer category for the company. Phil also said, the thing I need, if I'm going to step into the role to head this group, is I need to bring it back together. I can't have my hardware team over there and the platform team over there and first party over there. I need to bring it back as a cohesive team. And Nadella took a chance on Phil Spencer.
Who's Nadella?
And the rest is kind of history. Two people from that presentation
like Microsoft AI
Phil Spencer and Bonnie Ross. Bonnie Ross is still there. Phil Spencer is still there. And they are rocking it. Making the decision to delay Halo Infinite. That was the right move. Putting previous Halo people on that project. That's the right move. She is a
Halo Infinite was fine. I like it.
Phil introduced a new console, the Xbox
not perfect,
One X, a mid-generation.
But it's finally a step in the right direction again. And Phil said, let's not make it trash next time. I thought it was going to be like some kind of crazy story. Xbox almost died because a team of North Korean terrorists infiltrated the Xbox HQ and stole our Krabby Patty formula. We nearly lost it. But, you know, it was just like, yeah, Xbox One was bad. Skateboard deadlifts. Cool. That sounds awesome. 525 pound skateboard deadlift. Whoa! Nah, I'm not impressed. Now do this on ice. Then you'll have my respect. God damn. Someone's gonna die like that? Well, it's not exactly how you're supposed to do deadlifts. It's just one guy doing it. I'm sure he'll be fine. He's a professional.